hear this, you are not alone. This is the resistance.
He's sitting there, and I'm talking to him, and I tell him, I just want to take a time so that me as a regular guy, no media, no nothing, just telling you that I'm happy that you took the time to come down here. Because they didn't have to. There's no mandate that says the politicians have to attend these kinds of funerals.
Let alone come down and talk to you.
And let alone get off the whatever schedule that they're having to come and talk to me. And that's what's another important thing. And he told me, he asked me if I lived in the city. I said, yes, born and raised, sir. He's like, oh, wow. He's like, how are you guys handling this? I said, the city's strong enough, don't worry, we'll be fine. I said, but we don't want anything to change. This is just a tragedy. We don't need big policy changes for this. It's just a horrendous tragedy. That was my message to the leader of the NDP. And he said that if it was up to him, that nothing would change. That maybe the cops would have better vests and things of that. Maybe some equipment would change, but no policy changes. And I left it at that because these guys here are busy, right?
Yeah.
You don't just say, okay, me and you, Tim Hortons, we got to go for a coffee there, and I got to talk to you for 15 minutes. I have no itinerary. My people didn't call their people. I have no appointment, and they're at a freaking funeral.
Yeah, and you're not going to...
There is no justifiable reason why they take any time to speak to someone like me, and I know this going into it.
Yeah, and you're not about to pull an Alex Jones and just start ambushing people.
And I can't do ambush. What I did was guerrilla journalism. I stood back, I waited for the perfect moment, and I approached. But when I approached, I always stayed polite and made the interaction positive. These guys start hearing about the Worldwide Resistance Network when they start doing investigations and they start seeing my face. They need to remember that I'm the one that shook their hand at the funeral and agreed with them that it was a senseless act of violence, that we should be able to find peaceful ways of gathering this many people and making meaningful change. And I said that to them in person, face to face. So I said that to Montclair. Down the road, I'm looking at the media tents. Who do I see? Oh, there's the mayor of the city. Let's go see the mayor. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, and I said it out loud. Well, what do you know? There's Mr. Mayor. And he turns around and looks at me. I said, Mr. Mayor, may I have a moment? I just want to shake your hand. Because I had to advise the mayor that as a regular citizen, looking at what happened, he had done everything in his power. He had released every resource, every law enforcement resource body available to him. He had released it. It was the inability of the training of the officers in certain instances that couldn't apprehend. That happens. And on top of that, the civilian populace wasn't very smart either. Now remember I said, if a bunch of cops roll up and start pulling families out of their homes, I condone shooting at them. By all means, I might be the first one, and I won't be the last. But to grab a bunch of guns and walking around a city and start shooting at cops, when every viable political, economical, and activism has not yet been exercised, because it hasn't been exercised yet.
Yeah, and that's
everybody says we've done it all. No, we haven't.
No, we've just barely begun to scratch the surface. And what
we haven't even put together our own organizations yet. We haven't even really put any gusto behind what we want to be able to do as a proper activist community on this globe.
Yeah, and you're totally right. But what's the bottom line to this? You talked to both these people. So where do you think it's going to go from here?
Well, see, the thing is now is that once I got to the mayor and had an opportunity to speak to him, I realized that he was a touch, concerned about how even the citizens had approached it. Because we have independent media online here that's local, and they always follow the police, and these things happen. And what started happening is that these people started disclosing the location of the police officers on social media, which was creating a risk that the person at large could have actually known where the cops were and where the cops weren't. Made it very hard. It actually stood a chance to prolonging this manhunt instead of what could have been 12 hours turned into 30 hours. So, and that was the mayor's concern to me. It's like, I told them I understood that concern and that me and various people like myself We were concerned as to where he was in the city, not so concerned as to where the cops were. And that when we realized that the other people were impeding the police officers, that people in our situation had decided to work actively to try and conceal the police officers' locations so that this could come to a close. Because like I said, it was not martial law. It was not World War III. It was just a guy with a gun. And we, as an entire global community, can't stand behind one guy with one gun killing officers for personal vendetta reasons. That's not why this network is being put together. So I explained all of this to the mayor of what I had tried to do online, and he thanked me for my efforts and then was whisked away by media for his interview with mainstream media, his first interview with mainstream media. So he did all that, and I spoke to him. At this point, I figured, well, that's all I'm going to get for the day. So at this point, I look at my girlfriend and I said, it's time for us to head home. And she's like, no, we're not leaving. And I had asked to leave a couple of times, and I didn't think I was going to be very fruitful in my mission, and she was determined that we stay and see it through.
So you did find yourself a better half.
Yeah, I did. So what happened is we were trying to get Stephen Harper or Justin Trudeau to do, again, the plain Jane citizen approach to a politician and say, yo, what's up, in not so many words. We couldn't access these people. Both of these politicians had decided to leave, and we couldn't see them. They didn't address the media in any way, shape, or form. Well, next thing you know, I'm looking, and I see a motorcade come down. And I'm looking, and I'm tired at this point, and it's been a long day, and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I see the diplomatic immunity flag. And I was like, oh, that's somebody important. And I hear all the RCMPs around saying, all right, guys, make way, GG. And I'm thinking, man, Connor, you have researched all of these codes. You know how they communicate. You've been listening to the scanner. What is that? And then the light bulb hits. Diplomatic immunity flag, GG. Governor General is coming down in a motorcade.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm actually going to abide by this because this is the kind of man, this is the kind of man that can actually, get you hurt if you're on the wrong side of the imaginary line. So I decided to give it a little bit of space as still watching and being inquisitive and exercising my right to be there and so on and so forth and seeing these people. Well, what I didn't know, and I don't even think the security detail knew, I can't be sure, but all I know is the car came to a very abrupt stop and the Governor General jumped out of the car. And the next thing you know, all the vehicles that are around his vehicle, all the doors open up, 4 doors on all vehicles that are surrounding, and it's like the Clownmobile has just decided to empty itself. That's how fast these people have gotten out of the cars. So at this point I'm thinking this had to have been an on-the-cuff, right off the top of the head, order, stop, I want to do a media release. So, because the way that it was done so quick and so, not planned, because in my head I'm thinking, if she was planning to see the media, the motorcade would have pulled up, it would have stopped, all the people would have got out, somebody would have opened his door, and he would have been just like Obama.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not how it went. He was out first, security detail scrambled to get to him. So he makes a beeline to the CBC news tent to do an interview with them. And I'm watching the interview, and I'm thinking, okay, well, there's a few ways you can do this, You could be a crazy political activist, and you can run right up to them while they're filming, get tackled by, 12 people that are in the bushes that you didn't even know were there, or you can, and that's what I refer to as ambush journalism, really just kind of go up and, who gives a fuck about anything, right? If I'm doing this because I want to do this, that's not an intelligent approach, so I kind of annexed that out of the idea real quick. So I started walking towards them, and I was like, okay, I'm going to wait until the interview is done. But as I'm walking towards them, I'm forgetting about the imaginary line that I had just reminded myself of when he was still in the car.
Oh, shit.
Right? So I'm walking, and then again, the little voice in my head says, you get too close unannounced, you're going to get attacked by 12 guys in the bushes that you didn't even know were there. So, in a panic, I jump back about a foot. And I don't know if she's a 5-star general. She's a very highly decorated military personnel that is always with the Governor General. I caught her attention when I did that. And she made eye contact with me. interview was done at this point. She made eye contact with me. The Governor General is now walking right to me, but he's talking to the media still. He's having an off-the-record conversation.